1 little, 2 little, 3 little kingdoms, 4 little, 5 little, 6 little kingdoms, 7 little, 8 little, 9 little kingdoms, 10 little Antichrist kingdoms. Today on Makayo Messenger. Welcome to Makayo Messenger. I hope you're doing great out there. And if you can give me a thumbs up and let me know I'm coming through loud and clear for you. I'm going to be doing a shorter video today. That's trying to do more of those so that more people who love the short ones can get those too. Because we all know my tendency is to err on the longish side of town. So I'm trying to do things, trying to be all things to all people, as Paul talked about in the Bible. I'm talking about the 10 kings today. The 10 kings. If you give me that thumbs up, just make sure my sound is coming through. My video went out yesterday when I was doing a video over at Makayo Ministries. So it's like to make sure that everything is looking good. Let me see there. So, all right. Thanks, Jeannie. Appreciate that. And thanks for moderating for us. Thanks, Gina, for moderating as well. I see you there. And if there's anybody I'm leaving out, I see Oriana. Good to see you in the house. Woohoo! We had a great talk today during our noontime Overcomers Club. I'm calling it the Overcomers Club. But we talk about everything in there. We're just having some fun getting to know each other today. But I hope you'll join us over there at noontime in our fellowship. You can click the first link in the description, and it'll take you on over to our fellowship. It's free. You just dive right in. And sometimes starting at noon. It's the kind of time where, like, confession sessions, people can come and share what's on their heart, what's going on in their life. We can pray for them and just help people get ready for the Lord to return. You know what I'm talking about? So 10 kings. There's 2 times in the Bible that talk about the 10 kings. Daniel and Revelation. They seem to go hand in hand, like ding-a-ding-a-dong. Kind of like a ham and cheese sandwich or something. I mean, peanut butter and jelly, if you will. Daniel and Revelation just seem to be, backing each other up, like giving each other the high fives all the time, aren't they? So Daniel and Revelation both talk about 10 kings. And in Daniel 7, it says, the 10 horns are 10 kings who will come from this kingdom. After them, another king will arise different from the earlier ones. He will subdue 3 kings. How many kings we got going? 3 kings. That's interesting. Because we know that we, of course, have the Antichrist, the dragon, and the beast, or the false prophet, I guess. The beast is the Antichrist. But so that's interesting. 3 kings, or, we've got the Trinity. It's kind of interesting how you want to interpret what that means, subduing 3 kings, because we also have, the saints get subdued for a period of time. The Antichrist prevails over the saints. So that's something to consider there. And in Revelation 17, it says, the 10 horns you saw are 10 kings. Sounds verbatim, doesn't it? Who have not yet received a kingdom, but who for 1 hour will receive authority as kings along with the beast. So for 1 hour, they get to shine. Here's your moment in the sun, your 15 minutes of fame. It's what you've been dreaming of your whole life. Now you can be as wicked as you want to be, and then you will be destroyed. So if you haven't already seen this video, I did do a short video on the 10 kings previously in relation to the Chuckster, so you might want to check that one out as well if they're interested in that topic of the 10 kings. But a lot of people have been bringing up to me BRICS. And BRICS, if you're not familiar, is an organization, basically a new what do you want to call these guys? They're basically they're combining the economies. They're bringing their economies together of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Now that's how they started the ball rolling. Now they're planning on adding 5 more, which makes you think, 10 kings perhaps? Now, granted, these are kingdoms, you could say, but, kings is kind of somewhat of a broad term. When they talk about horns and kings, are we talking about an individual, or are we talking about an entire kingdom and so forth? So we have to kind of be open to that. Now, what's important to understand here, and if you take a look at this, you see Vladimir of the Putin, right? You see him as a contributor to the BRICS, because because we're going to talk about him a little bit in just a moment. So I just want to show you that he's one of the founders. Okay, so he's in the mix, and so if you go down to if you look down to the people that are planning on joining this organization that are kind of combining economies, kind of the answer to the West. It's the answer of saying we're not going to let the dollar rule the day anymore. We're going to take over with our own economy and our own currencies, and have our own sort of one to the world, to the currency going on over here. And we don't need you no more, dollar, is what they're saying. And, giving them the swift kick, so to speak. And so here it says in January of next year, 2024, these 6 it has planned to join, but kind of a caveat there, Argentina is actually opposed by 2 main opposition presidential candidates. So they have slated actually 6 to join, which would be 11. But will Argentina make the mix? We don't know, which means for sure we've got these 5 lined up. Now, it does say a total of 14 nés of the champs have formally applied to join the BRICSters. Now, I'm not saying for sure that this is the 10 kings. I'm just exploring it with you. I'm exploring with you because people wanted me to explore it, so we're exploring it together. But it's something to consider. Obviously, this would be more than 10, but we're going to talk a little bit more about the 10 in a second. But anyway, so you've got Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates, also known as UAE. So that's kind of intriguing because that would take it to 10. And so, currently it says here that BRICS is a grouping of the world economies of Brazil, Russia, India, and China, South Africa, formed in 2010. So basically they're kind of working together. They're like, hey, we're going to band together and finally take down the USA, those tyrants. How horrible of them. And, I can't blame them these days because our countries and nations have been taken over by psychotic dictators. But that's a whole nother story. Well, not really a whole nother story, but it's another part of the story. So I thought it was interesting, though, that their name is BRICS. BRICS. Why did they choose the name BRICS? Is there any significance to this name of BRICS? There are some other, perhaps, acronyms you could think about going along with this. For example, I'll talk about that in a second. So let's just talk about BRICS, and then we'll talk about maybe some other acronym possibilities here. So BRICS, I thought that was an interesting term because when we look in the Bible and we look at the term brick, it's often used in a negative way and even in an antichrist sort of way, a possessor, oppressor sort of way. For example, we have it when it comes to making the Tower of Babel. They used brick instead of stone, or brick stone, depending on how you want to read that passage. Also, when the Israelites were in Egypt, they were forced to make bricks without straw, if you remember, and that was a big deal. Also in Isaiah, God talks about they're continually provoking God, offering sacrifices in gardens and burning incense on altars of brick. So could it be that there's a little bit of a Antichrist nod here to the use of bricks in the Bible as not necessarily being a positive thing? And here, for example, the tower, they're building a new one world dictator of the ships, and so that's exactly what was going on in the Tower of Babel, right? The Tower of Babel was a time where they said, hey, let's come together. We'll all be one language, one people. And so they journeyed east. They found a plain there, and they settled with one another and said, come, let's make bricks and fire them thoroughly. And they used brick for stone, and they used tar for mortar. So is there something there? Is there something to, as we know, these guys love to work in hidden codes, and they love to, throw things in the face of the Bible and Christ and everything else. So, the fact that they're forming this one world agenda, AGENDA, and they're using the term BRICS, is there any connection there to them using that term and the Bible? And then, of course, we know about the Israelites with no bricks without straw, and how that was a form of oppression. So you have both. You have the one world control factor with bricks, and then you also have the trying to find another word, the oppression, let me just say, of the people using BRICS as well, right? So you kind of got both. It's like a double-sided coin, kind of interesting. Also, I thought, well, what if they changed it around and called it cribs? Get in my crib, yo. Anyway, of course, MTV famously has a show called Cribs. I don't know if it's still around anymore, but it was a show at one time. But I thought, they could rearrange it. It could be cribs. And that also has some significance there as an anagram. If we're rearranging the word, there's some cribs for you there in case you are familiar with what a crib is. But we know that Jesus talks about this being a time of birth pains, right? These are the beginning of birth pains. Nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There will be earthquakes in various places and famines. These are the beginning of birth pains. Well, what happens after birth pains? Well, then you get birth, right? But what are we giving birth to? We're giving birth to the Antichrist, to the end of the world, to, a total oppression and, this one to the world, to the order. So are they saying, hey, it's time to put the baby in the crib? You know what I'm saying? So that's their baby, and they're going to put it in the cribs. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thought. If we rearrange those letters, perhaps we're looking at an anagram here. I also looked at this possibility, scrib. If you moved it around, it could be scrib. And scrib relates to Genes. D to the N to the A, playing with our bodies. And that's something else that's being done right now. Now, this is interesting. The scrib actually has the ability to defend against tumors and other things, as it talks about here, as being a suppressor of the big C and other problems that people have. But I thought it was interesting when I looked over here, it said that scrib is actually a protein code of the ing of the gene. And I thought, wow, isn't that exactly what they're doing with these proteins that they're messing with in people's genes? And so I thought, wow, it's interesting. It's got a lot of interesting anagram connections that's going on right now. I thought, well, if they just let Moldova join the club, then they could actually be the McRibs. And so I mean, it could be a tasty name, I suppose. Look at that thing. What is that thing? We don't even know what that's really made of. That's kind of scary. But anyway, that's a whole other story. So just let Moldova in, and you could be McRibs. But I thought it was interesting when I took the letters of the other 5 who needed to be added in, right? Who haven't been added in yet. It actually spells be curses, or to be curse. And I thought, no way, that's pretty intense. So you take all the first letters of the other 5 nations, and I think with the exception of maybe the I is not in there, but you take those letters, and the longest word you can come up with is be curses, and so it has a double meaning. You can either be a curse, which is what they will be, obviously, and or you can cover with curses. So to cover with curses or to curse all over is to be curse. So I thought, wow, that is definitely apropos, to be cursed, and that is with all 10 kings, or at least putting those letters together, what we get. So I thought, well, who are the 10 most powerful people in the world? The most powerful people in the world. Yeah. So I thought, well, who do they estimate currently are the most powerful people who could potentially be these 10 kings right now? Now, this only went through 2018, I believe. So, this list probably needs to be adjusted, but maybe not much, actually. So I just kind of want to show you some of these people. Like, for example, number 4, I think she's gone now, but, who knows? But kind of interesting people. Could any of these people be the 10 kings, for example? I mean, I think there's some contenders on this list already. Now, the one person who's conspicuously missing, you'll see, is number 1 on this list, which is Mr. B.O. You see that? Mr. B.O.? Right. So he's also probably in the mix here. But that kind of gives you a taste of who might be one of the 10 kings or some of the 10 kings as well. Here's another look at that list also. You can see some more folks on there. The POPE's in there. Mr. GATES of hell is there. Oh, man. It's pretty bad. Mr. Macron, he's coming in number 12. Okay, there you go. The Zucksters there. So all these guys are on this list. So, the MUS to the K is on there. So, there's a lot of potentials. Who play a role here. Of course, they don't have the Chuckster on there, but he's obviously a very influential guy if he oversees, the whole Commonwealth and everything, let alone what else they have planned, and the W to the E to the F. So, and the Schwabster and all those other guys. So, a lot of possibilities there. So, here is a look at the 10 regions that they have in the U to the N. And this is, if you look at this map and also at this one, you can see these are actually 10 regional groupings. Let me back this off a little so you can see all 10 there. If you can see it, just so you can, I kind of have to go far, but you can at least count that there are 10 there, and then I can zoom it back in. So you see that there's, too far. You see that there's 10 there. You can just count it there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You see going down the side. And these are the official U to the N regional groupings that they've put together. And I'll just name them off to you. You have developed regions, countries of the Commonwealth of Independent States, the Northern Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, Southeastern Asia, Oceania, Eastern Asia, Southern Asia, Western Asia, Latin America, and the Caribbean. So what's interesting about that, I thought, Oceania, where did you get that name from? And if you go back here to the famous book by Mr. Orr to the Well, the 19 of the 80 of the numero cuatro, you have Oceania, Eurasia, and East Asia were the three countries that were always at war with each other, and they would always keep a constant WAR going there between them so that they could keep control of everybody. Because when they have you under WAR, they can bring in the marshal to the LAW, and they can lock of the DOWN, and they can always just oppress you basically when they have that constant WA to the R going on. So that's what happens in that book, and that was written back in 1940. I think it was actually written in 1948 but published in 49. And then he just switched the numbers. Instead of 48 is 84, but that was his map back then. So this stuff has been in the works for, as we know, a very, very long time, and he was actually involved with a lot of the behind the scenes stuff going on. The guy who wrote Mr. Orr to the Well, and so they're just kind of carrying out the same plan that was written in that book so many years ago. So it's just kind of funny, not really funny, but ironic, I guess. Also, as you know, I did this first video here. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it because it'll explain what's going on, and the fact that all three of the W to the A to the R's have been planned. They were planned a long time ago, back in the 1800s, perhaps, arguably even before that, and they're just carrying that out. And when you think about that, if everything's planned so much, then you realize this is not an organic thing that's happening. It's not like, they just decided to go to W to the A to the R. They're really upset and they're really trying to resolve things and work things out. But rather, they're using this as just a way to bring in, their one to the world oppression. That's really what they're trying to do and have been doing. If we go back to the 9 to the 1 to the 1, same thing there back in 2001. That was, as we know, something that took place, was orchestrated. It was not something that just, some crazy people just all of a sudden went and did this, but this was something that was planted by the people, running everything inside of this nation as well as throughout the nations. And so, it's always been that way. It's always been that way. So the things that you're happy, you think they're organic, and to you they are because you didn't see it coming. So you're like, whoa, what's this? And so they get you by surprise and they shock you. But if you get out ahead of it and you understand, oh, this is planned, then you're not so taken back and you can be more analytical about what's really taking place here. So with that in mind, I was thinking, well, okay, how many people do they claim have been taken out by this WA to the R so far? And this is the number that you get. Now, that's a lot of folks, okay? That's a lot of folks. That's, 100K over a quarter of a million folks. So I'm like, wow, that's a lot of people that have already been taken out, supposedly. Where are all these people? Okay? Where are all these people? Because every time I see any photos of what's going on there, I always see a photo like this. A couple guys in a big open field with one piece of artillery of some kind, right? And that's it. That's all you ever see. Or if you see a drone going over, it's like one tank that's on the ground. And that's it. You don't see like hundreds or thousands of soldiers fighting anywhere. Have you ever seen a picture of that? I have yet to see that. Maybe they're out there. Maybe I'm just missing them. But I have yet to see any photos like that. Every time I see a photo, it's like three dudes. It's three dudes, running in a field. Or here, let me scroll down a little bit. Some guy, or they're launching something. You just see a picture of them launching something. But it's never. Have you seen any photos of hundreds or thousands of people in this supposed WA to the R? Have you ever seen that? Because I haven't. I'd love to see it. If you do have it, feel free to send it to me. But look over here, like on the right side. That's usually what you see, like things just being shot, into the sky. That's all you see. That's all you see, right? And then they show you the aftermath, like, oh, look at this burned out building, and it always looks like it's the same building from a different angle, and you're like, right, very sus of the pish us, if you know what I'm saying. So it's always this kind of thing. It's like two dudes in an open field looking through a forest or something, or two guys, and behind them, it's like they just got some ACTORSs out there to just go out in a field and jump on a tank and just drive around and get pictures of them, shooting in different directions. And that's it. And that's all you ever get. And then you might have something in a. Now, when I'm saying this, if I'm not doubting that people have genuinely been hurt and even DIED'd, and I, of course, feel for those people. I'm not trying to limit, in any way belittle anyone's actual sacrifice or being harmed or hurt or anything like that. I'm talking about the bigger picture. I'm talking about what's being presented to us and perhaps what's really going on. I don't doubt that real people have, if you're going to sell it, real people are going to have to DIE to sell it, right? You can't sell it any other way. You can't go on this long without actual casual of the T's. But and so for those people, of course, I have compassion and I care about those people as individuals. But I'm just saying, as a collective, it's like, okay, you're trying to sell me this thing that it's this huge, big W to the A to the R happening, and yet where are all the people? Where are all these supposed soldiers? In comparison, if you were to go and look at, say, the second W to the A to the R, and here's more photos. And sometimes, like you say, you see people in a city, but it's always like two or three people. And again, I don't doubt that there's real people along the way. It's probably a bit of both. There's got to be some real stuff happening, because otherwise the people in those places would be like, there's nothing happening here. So they got to make something happen. But the level to which it's happening is probably, from everything I can see, seems much more minimal than anything that would warrant bill of the Yuns being sent upon, over for this thing, and all these supposed hundreds of thousands of sold to the Jares, and all these casual of the T's. It's always this way. Every photo you're looking at here, right? It's always one tank and like a couple dudes. That's all you ever really see. Now here's a group of maybe 10 guys. That's like the most I've ever seen. Now in comparison, if you look at the second WAR. I mean, look at that. You can't deny that. You can't deny that really happened, that was really going on. I mean, that's a lot of extras. If we're going to fake of the FU, if you're going to fake it in some way. Here's like tons of boats going in. I mean, look at this image. Like, whoa, it's like, man, dude, there's a lot happening there, I mean, that's a lot if you're just putting on a show, which I don't believe they were putting on a show. I believe that took place. But that's more what you would expect if you're having, you expect to see lines and lines of people, right? Where are all the people? Where are all these people? And you never see that. You always see close-ups. You never see these big open wide shots like this because there's nothing to show. Whenever they show some, it's like a big open field. There's nothing there. There's nobody there. And yet here, look at this, obviously tons of people, right? Tons and tons of people. So doesn't make any sense, right? Here we know that there were tons and tons of people there, and we know what they were doing there, and we know why they went down. So I couldn't help but think of this movie. I've talked about it before, but it's a good one to reference because, I mean, it kind of screams this. It screams this, where basically the whole plot of this movie was that they put on a fake WAR, supposedly taking place in Albania, and they just filmed, just like I'm talking about, little shots. It's almost like this is the predictive of the gramming here going on, or whether they got the idea for that. I mean, they've probably been doing it previously to now, obviously. So whether they're always trying to tell you, they tell you what they're doing, right? So is this them telling us, hey, this is what we're doing, guys? And not just in this time, but how many other things that we have going on in an IRAQ and just all these different events, and how much of that? I'm sure some of it has to be REAL, otherwise nobody would buy it, right? So it's got to be some, but how much of it is fabricated, is not actually really taking place? And that's what they do in here. They convince everybody that there's this WA to the R going on, and so that way they can get their things passed and get people to give up their money and give up their this and give up their that and give up their freedom and all that kind of thing. So it really does make you question what's really going on here. And then I think about this guy, here he is, right, at the W to the E to the F, right? And, that's the organization that's a big part of taking over the world right now, and the Chucksters behind and everything. And this guy's there, part of it. Now, the other thing is when I look at this guy, I go, is this the same guy? Is he the same guy? When I go down here, I look at this picture, and it just, to me, it's like, okay, it doesn't seem like the same dude. Just screams CLONES, right? Because when I look at that picture, and then I look at, say, this photo, it's like almost like a different shape, like the whole shape of the head. It's not just a sense of, okay, he gained weight, because he's not like super fat or anything. He's not super overweight. But it's just like the whole shape of his head seemed to change, like the length of his nose, the length of his head. It just, something doesn't look the same here. And I know we were talking about Mr. of the B, the same thing, is this the same dude that he was before? I mean, even Mr. T has said he's not the same guy. What is going on? What is going on? Even the skin tone is different. Like here, he's got more of an olive tone. Here he's got more of a reddish, ruddy complexion. It just doesn't seem, something doesn't add up. So when you put it all together, you're like, and this guy is involved in BRICS. So, we're going back to the 10 Kings now. That's why I'm sharing all this, because it all seems to be related. All seems to be connected. It all just seems like one big show so that they can bring in what they've always wanted to bring in. And that he's involved in it. Everybody's involved in it. It's all one big act that everybody is doing together. Now, again, I'm not denying that real individuals have been hurt. I'm not taking anything away from that, and I never would. But we got to look at the bigger picture here, guys, and we got to say, okay, they've been planning this thing. This is all going according to plan. You got to think, Okay, how much of this is orchestrated, if not all of it? And all the back and forth, the threats and the bravado that's been going back and forth. Oh, well, we got this and we got that, but that's been going on for so long. They don't have no intention of using that, because that would take out the things that they want to possess. They don't want to destroy the land with something radio of the active, for example. So it's better to just bluster and then bilk a lot of moolah out of every place, right? And get rid of people. Get rid of people. I showed you how many people they claim. Well, here's how much moolah that they have taken just out of the U.S. for this. Where do you think all that's going? To 3 guys in a field with a TANK? Is that where you think that's going? Does that make any sense to you? You think this amount of money is going to those 3 guys so that they can operate that TANK? I mean, come on, get real. Get real, man. It's going offshore. That's going into someone's secret accounts. That's where that's going. Money of the lawn of the during, It's pretty obvious. So those are my thoughts right now on the 10 kings that, I think the bigger picture is nothing is what you think it is. Nothing is as it seems. And you must question everything and go, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, right? So, and that's exactly what the Bushter says in the IP to the G movie, if you've seen that animation. That's what he says in the beginning of that. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Right? So, something to consider there. I'd love to get your thoughts on that. And I want to thank you for your support of this ministry. It allows me to continue to do this. And thank you for your prayers. And also, thank you again for the moderators today. I appreciate Wild Wes and Jeannie. Wild Wes in the house. Woohoo! It's your first time moderating, Wes, I think. So congratulations, brother. And Pamela, I see you there, and Oriana and Wayne. So something to think about, guys. Love to get your thoughts in the comments. Love to get your thoughts in our after video chat. I'm going to be there now. If you could hit that like button and that subscribe button and that notification bell, you can subscribe here and also over at Makayo Ministries and Makayo Music. And then I'm going to be over in the Discord channel. If you want to just come on over there in the after video chat, just say hi. I'll be there for the next 5 minutes. If nobody's there, then I will move on. But if anybody comes, I will be there to say hi. And if you want to share any thoughts about all this. But guys, Jesus is coming back. That's the most important thing. It's interesting to think about the 10 kings. God put it in the Bible for a reason. So that's why we look at these things. Not because it's the most important thing, but he did put it in the Bible. So why did he tell us? Because he wants us to know. So we take a look at it. We consider it. But the most important thing is that we get right with God. Because if you're not right with God, doesn't matter how much Bible you read. Do not merely listen to the word and deceive yourself. Do what it says. And so Paul said here in Acts 20, he says, I've declared to both Jews and Greeks that they must turn to God in repentance and have faith in our Lord Jesus. It takes both, guys. You can't just believe that Jesus existed and that he died for your sins and then not actually turn away from that sinful life. You have to repent and leave that sinful life behind you and be born again of water and the Spirit and start a whole new life with him. If you'd like to learn more about that, feel free to come over to the ministry and talk to me about it. Also, you can go to Makayo Ministries, and I have plenty of videos on that as well. But now's the time. Get right with God while you can, guys. It's been awesome hanging out with you. Guys, I'm loving you, and I'm wishing you all the best and all the blessed, and